it's driven, as you said, a lot by the lessons and the thoughts of those who've come before us in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. But it can also lead to quality being quite a faddy profession. It's TQM in the 1980s, it's Six Sigma in the 1990s, it's Lean Six Sigma in the 2000s. Now it's Quality 4.0. And I mean, even Quality 4.0, define that. Obviously, that seems to be the buzzword that's on everyone's lips at this point in time. Is the Quality 4.0 thing, but because it's that nebulous concept, it's still quite difficult to say, well, where is that actual change coming from then? And what's going to drive that change? And that's where I'd say there's going to be an element of the technology that's driving that. I mean, the data science element of it.
This is the Critical Talks podcast with Gabor Szabo. Thought exchange about experiences, lessons from the past, and trends towards the future of the quality profession. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Critical Talks podcast. I have an announcement to make before we get started. I did take a hiatus from podcasting for the sake of some extra personal growth. Hopefully, we'll dedicate an episode to that at some point to detail what those things were or have been. But in the meantime, we're back with a brand new episode. And today I'm joined by the amazing Derek Scott, and we'll be talking about quality as a developing discipline. Okay, so Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for that very complimentary introduction there, Gabor. Genuinely delighted to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I've watched a couple of the earlier episodes and very much enjoyed them. So thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just as a side note, Scott and I connected, just recently, and we hit it off, to say the least. We exchanged some really awesome, thoughts and ideas. So I thought it would be a good thing to have you on the podcast and continue sharing ideas, specifically around, quality. Okay, so a little bit about you, Scott. I know that you work you own your own consulting business now called Paragon Process Improvements. Before that, you had different roles within quality, working for a few companies, right? But before we get into that, where in the world are you?
So I'm based out in the northeast of Scotland. I'm based out of a little town called Inverurie, and the main city that I'm located nearby is Aberdeen, in the northeast of Scotland. As you mentioned, yes, I've worked for a number of different businesses over the past 15 years. It's been sort of my professional tenure within the quality discipline. I've worked across a number of different sort of specializations within the quality field across that period of time, ranging from metrology, very technical QC focused kind of background, through to almost pure systems quality assurance, ISO 9001 focused roles as well. So worked across a number of different elements of business as well, from manufacturing through to integrity, through to sort of corporate systems side of things, through to project focused roles. So I've got a pretty wide level of experience working across various different facets of quality, and I'm very genuinely lucky to be one of the few people in the world that can say I genuinely love the field that I work in, and feel very blessed to be able to say that. Genuinely, outside of um, my life with my family, who are kind of obviously the main thing in my life, quality is pretty much all that I do outside of that. So I've got a pretty vast collection of quality books, and I spend a lot of time just reading and doing a lot of different courses, and always looking to further my knowledge and expand my learning in very different areas. And as you mentioned, we connected fairly recently, and the thing that kind of drew me to yourself was that you described yourself on your LinkedIn profile as being a quality futurist, which was an area that I professed to not having a great deal of knowledge in. So I thought, well, this guy I can learn a great deal from, because he's very focused on an area of quality which I'm very interested in, but wouldn't say that I have the greatest depth of knowledge in. So particularly you mentioned in conversations that we've had that obviously data science is something that you have a great deal of interest in, a great deal of depth of knowledge in. So that's something that I found are very appealing about our conversations and whatnot, because some of my areas of interest tie in with that. For example, one of the things we talked about was the 3D metrology thing, which I bounced off a number of ideas with you in terms of how you can use the output from 3D metrology, hand scanning machines, and how that can then be analyzed from a data science kind of perspective. So I think that was really where, like I said, that was what drew me towards your LinkedIn profile and drew me to get into the Critical Talks podcasts and connect with. We've ended up having quite a lot else in common as well across other facets of our life, both being at I guess relatively similar levels in terms of the progression of our careers and also in terms of family life, both having young children and whatnot. So. I think that we've got a lot of common in there, so a lot to connect over, which has been enjoyable to see.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you made that move of reaching out. Um, so back to, let me ask you this question. So you mentioned that you're really happy, with your current role, with what you do, within quality or in general being in quality. And I do have some personal experiences, like having been in quality in some shape, ways, shape, or form for over 15 years. And my experience is that folks either love it and they want to stay within quality forever, or they hate it. They end up hating it, right? So it's I've never met a quality professional that was kind of like lukewarm about quality, right? It's like they're either really passionate and they love what they do, or they just, I don't know, they just do it for the money, or they just mail it in and end up leaving the profession and doing something else, right? So how is it for you? Like, what makes working in quality so appealing to you?
Well, there's a number of different things. As you mentioned earlier, there that it's a profession that's very much Marmite. You either love it or you hate it, and I mean, the numbers generally, if you look at any of the surveys that are done by any of the professional societies, the American Society of Quality recently did a survey in terms of professional satisfaction, which came back with numbers of 80% plus of quality professionals surveyed would have stated they were very, very happy with their choice of career in being in the quality field. So what really kind of drew me to quality as a whole is basically kind of multifaceted. It appeals to many things for myself. So number one certainly was what drew me initially to was the fact that it was a framework which just basically defined what common sense was to me. Everything about it just made sense. You go and read, like for example, the ISO 9001 standard. There's nothing in there that it's really all that easy to argue with. It just makes sense, as in that if you want to make a management system and you want to manage your business in a particular way that is going to deliver consistent results, this is a good framework to start with. Okay, you can argue over whether 9001 is actually going to deliver performance excellence. It's a different thing. But in terms of the requirements for a quality management system, the 9001 is actually a pretty good base for which you can then hang off other facets of your business to make sure that you have essentially that kind of continual delivery of the same service over and over again. And as someone coming into the quality profession, that was one of the first things that I got introduced to was the 9001 standard. It's kind of the kind of core scope of quality management systems, of course. And that instantly just made sense. So I thought, well, okay, great. Straight away, I can understand this. This is clear to me. It chimes with me. And I was lucky to very early on in my development as a quality professional, I was put through a very good graduate level program by the company that I was with at the time, which set me up with a number of different mentors within the quality profession, all of whom had slightly different takes. I had a guy who was very strong on lean and continuous improvement. I had a guy who was very strong on NDT and welding. I had a guy who was very strong on quality assurance and control, and so on. And I worked through a number of different mentors during that sort of first 2 years of that graduate program, who all gave me a different spin on it, and all of them were very keen to pass on their knowledge and lend out different books. Which again, I got the Toyota Way by Jeffrey K. Liker was one of the books that I got given by one of my mentors. And again, you're reading it, and everything in it just makes sense. It's you shouldn't be wasteful within your business. Of course, you want to maximize your profit. Of course, you want to do things to deliver the maximum results with the minimum level of effort within there. It just makes sense from a business perspective. But this just gives you a practical way in which to be able to deliver that across a business as either a kind of a goal of the business or a goal of your own business division, but also as a kind of a framework on which you can build a practical program in which to deliver solid concrete improvements to your business bottom line. And that's again where that just kind of solidified that whole "this makes sense to me" element of what to me quality as a whole as a profession really is. And as I kind of like developed and grew within my career over a number of years, I sort of tended more towards the kind of the statistical side of things, and the
Oh yeah.
statistics where that's it's still something that you can get into doing PhDs on this kind of stuff. And I'm certainly no PhD level statistician. I wish I was, but that's what again. It's an appeal that you grow and your knowledge grows, and so the rabbit hole keeps going further and further down. And the more that you learn about it, the more that you learn. And you start off with, like I say, you start off with 9001, then you get into lean, then you get into statistical process control, and then it's Taguchi, and then it's Shannon, and there's always something more to learn. Yeah, and while I profess that, yeah, I would say I'm reasonably knowledgeable on the statistical process control. It's kind of one of the areas that I like to pride myself on knowing, a reasonable amount on. There's always something more to learn. There's always something more to learn. There's always something more to learn in the design of experiments level. You can, I've probably got enough books now I could read a book every month from now until the day I retire, and I still probably wouldn't make it through all of my library. But that's just, again, it's something that for me is appealing, is the ever learning, always wanting to learn more, always wanting to know more, and then hopefully also being able to then pass that on. I've been lucky enough to be in a couple of different managerial positions and mentoring positions where I've been able to redesign bodies of knowledge across an entire business, and being able to introduce quality training across a business and across different fields within different departments within a business.
I love what you said, and I completely agree with you, because what makes working in quality so appealing to me personally is all these things that you get involved in as a quality professional, right? You start out as, hey, what do you do? I'm a quality engineer. Oh, what does a quality engineer do? Because most people have, outside of quality or industry, they don't really have a good idea of what that is, right? And then you start telling them, hey, I do this and that, right? I do improvements, right? Problem solving, right? But I also work with my stakeholders, so communication. I need to have business acumen, right, to be able to solve problems or deliver a solution to your customer, whether it's your external or internal customer, right? And then there's the scientist side of things, right? Because you need to possess engineering knowledge, um, or you need to have this scientist mentality to be able to solve problems and figure out solutions for your company, right? And there's also statistics, so you get to do a lot of different things. And I like to think of myself as, over the years, I don't even necessarily want to call myself a quality professional. I prefer to not necessarily call myself that, because I feel like that kind of puts you in a box, right? Hey, you're in quality, stay in your lane, right? But even being in quality, you can't just stay in your lane. What's your lane to begin with?
That's what I like though is the what's your lane. Your lane's whatever you define it when you're a quality professional, really, because it really does. It touches on everything. I mean, even if you're looking just within the bounds of a single continuous improvement project, you've got project planning, you've got project finance, you've got results that you need to deliver, you've got project management, you've got team management, you've got team building, you've got, like you say, the science, the engineering, the problem solving, all of these different things come into even just like I say, a single improvement project that you can work on. So when you look at quality profession as a whole, and that's where like I think I tried to tend to think of myself more as dealing within continuous improvement for a number of years. But I've kind of come back round to just thinking, no, it's just quality. It's all of it. I just kind of badge under that now, and and that's what I like about it. But for the people that I'd worked with before and who I'd mentored and managed within a team before, one thing I was always very keen to help them with was their career development and show them that there is so much within quality. You can go down the auditing route, the management systems routes, continuous improvement route, non-destructive testing. And I mean, even within something like non-destructive testing, there's so many different branches within that you can go and carve out a career and a niche for yourself quite happily, and get 40 years worth of a career out of if you choose to. And that's really what I love so much about the profession. But and this kind of ties in with what again we talked about going forward, which was the where does this kind of take us in the future in terms of where does quality go from here in terms of as it spreads out and branches out, which kind of is something that kind of I've thought about and we've had conversations about in terms of is it professional divergence or is the quality profession splitting off into what will be different professions within themselves? Are you going to have your management system guys as a separate professional branch just entirely, as opposed to say data science and the quality 4.0 perhaps element of what is the quality profession as it's the emerging part of the quality profession. And likewise, perhaps the technical quality control, the people who are really, there's non-destructive testing and CT scans and 3D metrology and this side of things. It's a very different skill set that you need to be able to become, say, a leading, highly skilled professional within that field as it is to, say, being able to be a very highly skilled management systems auditor. Pardon me. So you kind of got a split there that is seeming to emerge within the quality profession. And I mean, I'd like to hear your thoughts in terms of where you think that is going in terms of what you see the profession developing as in terms of its divergence.
Very true. To be honest with you, I don't know where it's all going in terms of the function. Um, like I said, I don't like being boxed into just quality, right? So maybe the future for the quality profession or the quality function is that there will be no quality function because a quality mindset is really the future of any profession, as we've seen in the past, right? And there are current trends that are affecting all that, right? Whether it's technological, cultural, societal trends, right? I don't know what the future holds, but I know that things will be different, um, say 10 years from now. And the reason I reason I say that is I think the quality profession needs a change, right? We've relied on, you know, essentially methods, disciplines, and all those things that our quality heroes, the quality heroes of the past, we still have some quality heroes, alive today, but most of those quality heroes, that most folks call quality heroes, are they're no longer with us, right? They came up with these methodologies, these disciplines, back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and maybe 80s, right? But
I'm going to shout out Shoehart here for being there in the
okay,
1920s. There's still
1920s,
so much to
30s.
learn even from him.
You're right. You're right. Right. My bad. But my point is, since the say 1990s, we haven't really seen any major initiative, major thought, major methodology in terms of, you know, what the future is going to look like for quality. I haven't seen anything come out. You know,
No,
it's
the I suppose this is kind of ties in with one of those schools of thought about quality being quite, it's driven, as you said, a lot by the lessons and the thoughts of those who've come before us in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. But it can also lead to quality being quite a faddy profession. It's TQM in the 1980s, it's Six Sigma in the 1990s, it's Lean Six Sigma in the 2000s. Now
oh,
it's Quality 4.0. And I mean, even Quality 4.0, define that. It's a really nebulous concept at this point in time that, well, it's a bit of technology, it's additive manufacturing, it's 3D metrology, it's laser scanning, it's, okay, kind of, but there's not really a solid framework around what you can say that's quality 4.0. In the same way that perhaps you might be able to do with, say, that's what ISO 9001 is, or that's what Six Sigma is. They're a little bit more defined. So I obviously that seems to be the buzzword that's on everyone's lips at this point in time. Is the quality 4.0 thing, but because it's that nebulous concept, it's still quite difficult to say. Well, where is that actual change coming from then, and what's going to drive that change? And that's where I'd say there's going to be an element of the technology that's driving that. I mean, the data science element of it is going to be driven by, I guess, one of the assets of the idea of Quality 4.0 is the data science and the big data. The fact that you're now going to be able to be by being enabled by technology to be able to gather much more data than you would have in a purely mandrolic manufacturing situation, and be able to analyze that at a much greater pace than you perhaps would have in the past. And that's where you've got elements of, as the quality profession diverges, you've got technological convergence. So you've got things like Excel spreadsheets being able to run quite advanced statistical processing modules within that. Sigma Excel is one that I use myself, and fantastic little program that you can do control charting, design of experiments, MSA, anything that you really want, you can do on there. The significance testing, you name it's all on there. Um, and that's where I guess we've got to be careful with, as technology makes things easier, we need to know why we're using technology as well. We need to be careful to make sure that we don't lose sight of a lot of these things in themselves as well. It's too easy to kind of unveil technological firepower where it doesn't necessarily need to be unveiled in that kind of sense.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's really technology that's driving most of these, you know, a lot of these changes, and quality 4.0 as a buzzword, which it's a buzzword that it's become. Uh, when you say quality 4.0 or even industry 4.0, you think of technology, right? Oh, we're collecting lots of data and we're going to do something with it, or we're going to automate the heck out of everything, and that's it. But there's a lot more to that. I think it's it's not just about data. It's about integrating that into a into your system, into your people system, into your organizational system, right? And Deming, this is it's so funny because Deming came up with you know his profound knowledge, right? Which essentially had four major points, right? Understanding of variation, common causes and special causes, right? And then theory of knowledge. And then you had psychology in there, right? How humans work. How do you motivate them? Understanding how the human mind works, right, is key to everything, right? You can't be just, you know, putting automation everywhere, you'll still need to have intuition, which you can't really teach a machine. AI can't do that for you, right? Um, so how are we going to do all this? The big picture stuff, right? We're so focused on automation and quality 4.0, and even, there are companies, all these major, technology companies are coming out with their solutions, kind of like trying to sell snake oil, right? And people are buying it.
Oh yes.
People are buying it. And do not get me wrong, because I believe in this technological revolution. It's not an evolution. In my opinion, it's a revolution. Actually, the first time I heard this uh, was from Dr. Greg Watson. Have you heard the name? So,
Oh, we discussed him
yeah,
briefly.
we
I
did.
hadn't heard the name when you mentioned him first to me, or rather, the name rang a bell, but I couldn't remember why. And then just since we discussed him, I've just seen him pop up absolutely everywhere. He's been on the front cover of the Chartered Quality Institute's Quality World
Oh
magazine
yeah.
that they come out. And in fact, I ended up presenting at a conference with him just a couple of weeks ago. No, I mean, I was not doing the same presentation with him at that time. I'm not trying to claim any sort of reflected glory here or anything. But he was presenting the day after I was.
Did you get to have a chat with him?
No, no, sadly not. No, I wasn't able to be at the full conference. I was just able to be there for a short time to actually do the presentation I was giving at that time. So, no, I didn't have any sort of personal interaction with him or anything like that.
Oh,
Um, and
but
he's doing a webinar now for the Chartered Quality Institute's World Quality Week events that they're having, I think, this week. So the week that we're recording this anyway. So yeah, I mean, I see him all around now. I've not read too much into his ideas or thoughts at this point in time as yet. I've still got, like I say, a long back catalogue of things that I'm looking through myself just now. But obviously, if you can share a little bit about what some of his thoughts are, where his particular focus field is, that would be great.
yeah, so I've listened to a couple of webinars um, from him, and I mean, I think he is one of the quality heroes of you know, days. So, Dr. Watson, if you're listening to this,
And you
you
want
are
to
my
come on the show?
you are my quality hero, and I actually love to have him on the show. So I guess I'll just have to manifest it. But anyway, so I was listening to this one webinar or presentation that he gave a while back, and he was talking about this quality 4.0, or quality going through a revolution, having to go through a revolution. It's not an evolution, right? Will have to be a revolution. And you know he uh, he said that, actually, you know what, I have this up on my screen here. So he said that quality professionals are mired in their traditional methods and tools that were developed during an analog age of univariate statistical methods, processes, and problem investigation and root cause inquiry. The work documentation that are currently being made obsolete by digital technologies. Bam. Generally speaking, the technology shift is being managed by engineers and data scientists or information technology specialists, while the community of quality professionals is only engaged on the periphery, if at all. Double bam. Technology advances are increasing exponentially, and the environment of digital solutions is becoming polluted by chaotic, immature applications. I can attest to that. It's totally the case. The desire to control the shift is causing major management consultancies to leap into the fray and claim the implications for operational management. And I think that's what's causing a lot of trouble, I think, among, in industry, right? And he also says, it's time for quality professionals to get smarter about smart technologies. And I couldn't agree more. Like, we as quality professionals need to get smarter about smart technologies, need to take our knowledge to the next level. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. We already have a very solid foundation in terms of engineering, in terms of statistics, even data science. We have the people skills, most of us. We have the people skills. We have the business acumen, right? So we have all the tools and all the knowledge necessary to develop ourselves to the next level. And I think it's really up to us individually, up to you, up to me, up to each of us. So that's my opinion.
What do you think then could be the best thing that a quality professional could bring then to this burgeoning revolution that's happening? Where do you think a quality professional skills or particular skill set sits within that and can bring the most value to a business?
I think it's I think it's everywhere. It's data analysis, of course. Yeah, we already have a lot of those skills, right? Um, but it's the technology part that's missing, with many of us, right? Um, the the business acumen, or being able to communicate or come up with a solution, right? Involving with all your stakeholders involved, right? And being able to negotiate, communicate, and deliver a solution. I mean, we already do this day in and day out. Whether you know, you're a engineer or quality professional having to report to your customer, right? Or being on the other end of the communication chain. You already do that all the time, right? So I can't really I can't really pinpoint as to, hey, you need to focus on this, but I think say on this technology, or need to learn this or that. But I think in general, I think all of us should start getting more familiar with technology, the possibilities of what you can do with technology within your own realm of, say, quality, or if you work for a manufacturing company, right? If you work for a healthcare company, if you work for a service, if you work in the service industry, right? Uh, Technology has different implications, but I think it is time that we all started getting familiar with what's possible with technology and
I
all
think
the things that come with it.
I think you also touched on a really good element of the skill set there that quality professionals have, and that's the ability to listen. And the reason that I say that is um, so much of what a quality professional does is through listening. If you talk about management systems and auditing, the word audit comes from auditory. It's about listening. It's listening to people, listening to systems, voice of the process. What are you doing? You're listening to what the process is telling you. The voice of the customer. You're listening to what the customer tells you, and that's where quality professionals have got a particular bent in which case they can bring out an extra level of value for businesses, for organizations, for different departments, for those around them, because they have a particular element of listening skills that perhaps don't exist so business wide otherwise.
Yep, absolutely. And we're we're all in this, right? Do we have our heroes? Yeah, we still have a few heroes, right? And but we're all on the shoulders of giants like
If
Deming, sure, but we can't keep going back there. We have to build upon their knowledge, their experiences, their teachings. We'll have to come up with our ways of being and developing and improving in this new century. this
we're
new,
all of us standing on the shoulder of giants, Deming included, you mentioned earlier as elements of his profound system of knowledge. One of the first things, obviously, you mentioned was the variation, special causes and common causes. That itself was built off of Schuhart's assignable causes and chance causes. Um, the whole PDSA that Deming came up with was built off of the Schuhart circle. So
yeah,
there's so much that he took that Schuhart had developed originally in the 1920s. So, and Schuhart himself built on other statisticians and thinkers that came before him. So, all of us, we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, just as I'm sure the next generation of quality heroes will be as well. I mean, the date that we're recording this is November 2021. And just recently, we had the American Society of Quality's Quality Progress November issue come out with the 40 under 40
Did you
rising
get a prize?
stars.
Did you get a prize?
I did not get a prize. No, heavens no. Um, no, no, no. I'm not quite so special to deserve one, I'm afraid. But I'm very proud and pleased to say that one of my colleagues did. Who's a chap called Piotr Ronka. So I'd just like to give a wee shout out to my boy Piotr because he won one of the 40 under 40 slots in this. I believe one of your colleagues and friends also ended up on this very prestigious list that the ASQ produces. And they only produce this I think it's every decade or every 5 years. They
Oh,
certainly
wow.
don't do it. It's not an annual list that they come out with. So it's not often that people get the chance. And certainly by the time that they come out with the next list, I'll be well past the age of 40. So definitely not going to be on any future list.
Yeah, so when I pulled up the not the magazine, but it's all online now. I don't have the magazine anymore. But when I pulled it up and I'm looking at, oh, okay, I think I've seen that person on LinkedIn, right? And then I think I've seen your your coworker before. His name is Piotr. Piotr.
Yeah, Piotr Ronka.
Well, congratulations, Piotr. But anyway, so as I'm looking at these faces, I'm like, oh, okay, I know that person, Stephanie Thompson, whom I have worked with in one of the ASQ chapters. So she's also one of the 40 under 40. So congratulations, Stephanie. If you're
Yeah,
listening to
congratulations.
this, you're amazing.
No,
So
it's good to know some leading lights that are in the up and coming fields. So great to see them all do so well.
maybe in a few years we'll be talking about them as our quality heroes.
Yeah, I do hope that we'll see some
Not
of
under
those
40,
in
but
that list
yeah.
go on to provide yet greater levels of insight into the quality profession.
Sure, sure. All right. So what else? I think we've had a really good talk about about quality as a developing discipline in terms of what you think it could become, where it's going, right? And we've shared some really good thoughts. Now it's time to ask you a few questions, right? So we haven't had a chance to get to know you a little better as a person. So I have some questions here. Okay, so what was the last book you read? And summarize it in a few sentences for us, please.
Sure. Well, I'm presently halfway through 20 Things That You Need to Know by Donald Wheeler. In terms of the quality heroes that are still with us, Donald Wheeler's
He
he's
definitely is
he's
one of
he's
them.
my man.
Yep.
Um, I think he's incomparable with everyone that's around us now.
Agree.
So, in terms of summarizing the book, it's essentially a book about analyzing data and making sure that you're doing it in a way that makes sense and that you're not overcomplicating things and torturing the data to make it produce noises that it's not meant to do. Separating signal from noise and making sure that what you're interpreting is the signal and not the noise.
Okay. That's I've never read that book. I've read many of his books, but not that one. So it's a good teaser.
It's it's a companion book to Understanding Variation, the Key to
Okay.
Controlling Chaos, which is probably his most well-known book. And it expands upon some of the thoughts that he develops within that book, and then takes them to another further level to show where some of the mistakes, particularly in terms of interpreting process behavior charts, come from, and what you can do to make sure that you're avoiding making those mistakes.
Great. Okay. Here's another one for you. Who has been most influential to you or inspired you in your career? This could be an author, this could be a peer, a manager, a mentor.
Okay. In this case, I would have to say it would be a woman who I work with called Mary Simpson, who was really my first introduction into quality as a profession. I joined a company that the two of us worked together at the time, and worked on a project, essentially as the document controller within that project. And I got to be at all the project meetings and see what the HSE person was saying and what the engineer was saying and what the structural guy was saying and what the, you know, pipeline bundles lady was saying and so on and so forth. And I always found myself particularly drawn to what Mari was talking about. And so she was very kind enough to kind of explain to me a little bit about what quality was, where it was, introduce me to some other people working within the department with her, and then eventually, I managed to knock on the quality director's door and bully him into giving me a graduate level job, even though I didn't have a university degree. So eventually wore him down with persistence, I think, and they took a chance on me and gave me a job, and like I said, I've been working in that field ever since, and I'm lucky enough to have had the chance to work with her again very recently. So it's like I said, it's quite a nice full circle element within my career.
Great. It's always good to have an influential person or people in your career. I've had many. Um, okay, great. So I think our is about up. So I'd like to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Derek, for joining us. It was a great discussion, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have had you on the podcast. And I hope you join us for a future episode sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, and I greatly enjoyed that conversation. As I enjoy every conversation with you, Gabor. So, thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to having the opportunity to chat with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Derek. So that was episode 6. Quality is a developing discipline. Feel free to go check us out. We are on LinkedIn, and also we can be listened to on pretty much every major podcast channel, including Apple Podcast and Spotify, amongst others. So I'll see you all next time.